Are you the kind of person who still thinks about their teenage crush? Well, if you are, then you're in good company. Today we'll be sharing stories from our past, playing some games, and maybe even performing a live sketch or two. Let's unnecessarily print out our airline tickets, grab your knitting needles, a blanket, because it's time for four old friends to sit around and sew a new patch into their quilt of friendship. So join me, Dion, under the covers with Christian.
Welcome to Patchwork.
Josh.
Welcome to Patchwork.
And Laura.
Welcome to Patchwork.
So, before we get started this week, I wanted to share with you all a story of a friend who's a very passionate listener of Welcome to Patchwork. We love people listening. We love getting feedback from our listeners.
How does he passionately listen?
He passionately listens during sex, I'm assuming. Yeah. That's how he listens to Patchwork. But one thing he told me he does, which is very different from other people that listen to the podcast, is he listens at 1.5 speed, which is...
Too quick.
It's far too quick. And
I thought that meant that it was less fast.
No, it means it's... Oh, this is Laura Dunemann, by the way.
Oh, isn't that funny? Oh, what a coincidence that I just started talking and now it's time for Dion to introduce me.
So now it's time for me to introduce Laura. So Laura's a stand-up comedian in Melbourne. She's been in a bunch of comedy festival shows, Fringe Festival shows as well, and also most recently was in Hamish and Andy's True Stories on TV. But Laura's going to be joining us today.
Hello, boys.
So this friend of mine listens to the podcast in 1.5 times. So Christian, I've set up a clip that I'd like you to play, the actual 1.5 speed recording, and it absolutely kills all the timing, all the comedy, everything about it.
Says the guy who's doing it.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. So Christian, can you play that clip for me?
Sure.
There, the truth comes out finally. Wait, so what would you prefer to wear if you didn't wear underpants?
Nothing.
Really?
Yeah.
Do you ever wear pants without underpants?
Currently.
Be honest with us.
Currently.
Photo, Facebook. So it doesn't, as you can hear, it doesn't work. Yeah, it's really, really
That
stupid.
is a completely different experience.
Yeah, so it doesn't make it funnier.
Can I just say, because I've been listening to a few of your podcasts before I came on today, just in preparation to know the vibe, you all have this particular way of talking and it does come through in that 1.5 speed.
Really?
Yeah, right.
You do this thing where you're like, no, it doesn't. No, it doesn't.
Yeah.
Like that. Yes, because, like that. You're like, that's exactly what I said.
So it doesn't ruin the timing at all then?
Yeah.
It's fine.
Yeah, you just did it then.
he just did it then.
So it doesn't ruin it.
Yeah.
I wonder whether it'll still work if we just remove the words and just made kind of sounds.
Yeah. You could do it grunting. You're like, because
Do you know what? I am actually going to blame Josh for that.
Oh, thanks, mate.
Cheers. No. Well, I think we get that intonation of speech from you.
Because I have
Right.
known Josh for a long time. We've been friends for quite a while. And
So
I used
housemates for a
I
while.
used to live with you for a little while as well. And you have always talked like this. You have always talked like this.
Very efficient man with my words. I know what I want to say and I say it.
And then when I started listening to the podcast, I was like, the other two are starting to talk like this as well. It's like someone that has an accent.
But I was always really impressionable. There was this guy that I went to school with. His name was Noah. And I went to school with him and he grew up in the country and he loved football, but he talked in a really Australian accent. So what happened was I got to know this guy. And so whenever he used to come around, I used to start talking like this to my parents. And they're like, Dion, what's happened? I was like, I don't know. What do you mean? What's happened? And then he'd leave and I'd revert to being my normal pompous self.
I don't want you hanging around with that boy anymore, Dion.
He's having too much of an Australian impact on you. It's not happening. So anyway, what I decided to do was rather than play back the podcast at 1.5 times speed and it be less funny, I wondered if playing it at half speed would make it more funny. So Christian, can you just play that clip and let's see if half speed is funny? I would love to hear from our listeners whether they have great games that they play in the car, because you can't
The spaceship game's really good.
What's the spaceship game?
I don't want to explain it now, but it's like I'm going on a spaceship and I'm going to take...
Stop
and you
it.
take 2 items and there's a relationship between those
So as you can hear, Josh is going on a spaceship somewhere. But what you can hear from that is the podcast is actually enhanced when you listen to it at half speed.
Absolutely.
So our podcast usually runs for about 40 minutes. We recommend you set aside now about an hour and 10 minutes to listen to our podcast at half speed.
Dude, we all sound so drunk.
Yeah.
It's just like,
Yeah.
let me tell you one
Just a little bit more, Christian.
Between those words. And the other people have to work out what the relationship is.
It is amazing. I think that informs so much who you become later in life, Dion. No, because I think Josh's ability to access information.
Nah, man, don't be crazy.
One time I accidentally started listening to a podcast at double speed and I was so confused. I was like, what is wrong with these people? They're hyperactive.
I had a lot of friends who at uni used to listen to lectures at sped up like 1.5 times, that kind of thing.
Yep.
And that was, I'm like, I don't know if you're absorbing it all. You're not taking notes clearly. You're just trying to go, I listened to the lecture, I listened to it.
That's the equivalent of speed reading.
That's a good point.
Can you speed read?
No.
I did a speed reading course and...
You did a speed reading
I
course.
did a speed reading course.
How do they teach you speed reading?
There's a methodology to speed reading.
How
Yeah.
the F does a speed reading course and how much do you have to pay? Is it covered by your HEX
so
debt?
the only way
Covered
that
by
I
Medicare.
so the only way I can describe it for you now is if I can talk about it for 10 minutes, but if we can speed this up about 5 times, I can actually teach the whole course. What we do in the industry is is you have a page. So let's imagine a novel, and you actually look at chunks of words rather than individual words.
How big's the chunk?
3 to 4 words.
And you just fill in the gaps. You just figure out what
Yeah.
it probably says.
Yeah, and it's amazing what you can pick up from speed reading. And yeah, it's a really useful tool.
Well, there's that thing that if you look at a word that's been jumbled with the letters, so long as the first and the last letter are how they should be,
Yeah.
no matter what the configuration of those correct letters in the middle, you still read it perfectly fine.
I love that is some revelation you've had, Josh. That is 100% something that's been posted on Facebook like 1,000
Okay, cool.
times.
We'll cut it out there. Don't worry, guys. Sorry to try and lighten some of you.
You're doing the talk again. No, fine. We'll cut it out. We'll cut it out then. Okay, let me just start this conversation by asking who here is afraid of flying? Anybody?
Nope.
Contextually.
Why do you ask, Laura?
Oh, well, because I'm actually terrified of flying, and I had to fly last week. I flew to Hobart to do a comedy gig, and then I flew back again. And I'm here, I'm alive. And
Congratulations.
this thing happened, right? I've got a lot of different processes to get through flying. Yeah. A lot of different things that I put in place to help with my fear. It's very common. I like the thought that when you're on a plane, there's maybe like 300 people on an aeroplane. Well, there's a big airplane, but
Yeah.
say there's...
Is that a big aeroplane though?
I think that's a big aeroplane.
I have no idea what's a big aeroplane.
Say there's 150 people on an
go with
aeroplane. That's like a standard domestic flight.
Sorry, can I just interrupt you? What do you mean you have no idea what a big aeroplane is?
Some people are like, oh, that's the A380. That's going to be a great flight. No idea.
Do you know what I base that number on is when there's a really big crash, they say how many perished.
How many souls?
Yeah, how many souls were lost. But anyway, I've figured out that I'm much better on an aeroplane if I just don't talk about it. And because I often fly with my partner, his name is Dan, and he's fine on aeroplanes. He flies on aeroplanes all the time.
Laura, do you take a relaxant before you get on the plane, or do you take hard drugs before you get on the plane?
I used to drink alcohol.
Yeah. How do you find that?
Well, I don't do it anymore because I've found that a really good method has been to be at one with the aeroplane. So I'm stone cold sober. I used to put on like headphones. I used to close my eyes so I could try and just get drunk and pretend I wasn't in the air. But now I request a window seat.
Yep.
I listen to the noises.
You request the window seat.
I look
the only
out
way
the
to fly.
window and I see the plane working and I trust in the plane.
What do you mean you see the plane working?
I see it flying in the sky with me inside it.
But that's what I was saying to you before, why it was contextual for me, because I'm fine in the plane. What annoys me is that people complain about flying as a general experience. I love flying. I think it's great. It's relaxing for 24 hours. People hand deliver you food. It's great. Until the moment you open the window and you suddenly realize, oh, fuck, I'm flying.
The thing that I always love about flying is there's this great thing of you literally can't do anything else. It's like, I'm just stuck here for 20 hours.
Yep.
I can guilt-free watch movies, play games,
Yes.
whatever, because I can't do anything else. It's a beautiful period of time.
They give you hot food.
Yeah.
Hot food. People do not appreciate that you are getting a hot, delicious meal
Why is the
in
heat,
the sky.
Why is the heat so important to you?
I could understand if they bulk brought on sandwiches that were pre-made. No. You're not getting sandwiches. You're getting a hot meal.
I'm back to Josh's point. What's the big deal with the heated food?
Well,
Who
because
cares if it's
say
heated?
you're on a 14-hour
Laura,
flight.
you're a guest here. Don't back up, Christian.
Say you're on a 14-hour flight. They need to somehow heat that food up in the plane.
Use the bloody
They have a
huge
kitchen in the plane.
Yeah, and they've got
practically
4 big fuck-off engines as well to heat it up with.
and it's in the sky.
I think if they've worked out how to move a bloody metal husk through the air, they could work out how to put a fucking heater in the bloody plane.
Favourite part of that sentence was the word husk. I don't know if it was for the listeners as well.
One way that I've managed, another method to combat my fear, right, is that I've made a pact with Dan that when we fly together, and I got this from another friend of mine who's also terrified of flying, he's promised that if the plane crashes, in the process of it diving to the ground, he's promised to punch me until I pass out. And then it's like the perfect cure because then I'll just miss it all.
And so what happens when the plane comes back up from that dive? Everyone's fine, and then there's heaps of footage of your boyfriend beating
is
you
the
up.
asshole
Yeah, that's right.
that punched his partner in the face.
So who makes the call there? Do you make the call or does he make the call? Does he just start
punch me.
laying in? Or do you go, I think it's time, we're going down?
We haven't discussed that.
You
I
need
think
to
it
work
would
it out.
probably be me that makes the call because he probably doesn't want to punch me in the face, I'm guessing.
You use the word probably. He probably doesn't want to punch me in the
But
face.
I was also talking before about alcohol, right? I just wanted to tell this story because I used to get drunk all the time before I would get on a flight. Like no matter what time of day, I'd have a glass of champagne. It was necessary. And one time I went up to Sydney with my mum and my sister for like a Sydney girls weekend. And we, woohoo! Ow! And we went... You're going to use that as a sound bite.
Yes, we will.
Anyway, we went to the airport and the woman at the checkout was like, now, I could actually get you on a flight and maybe you could get out before this big storm hits. And we're like, what? I was like, what storm?
That's so
And,
cruel.
and my mum is as equally afraid of flying as I am. She was like, what storm? Like that. So we had to fly on this plane that was definitely going to be going through a storm. They said, okay, your aeroplane is probably going to be the last one before this massive storm hits. And you know that in like Sydney, like they can get really big storms. And I looked at it on BOM, on Bureau of Meteorology.
Don't say that on the plane either.
Looking at bomb. And it was like, you know, when it goes red, it was red.
Yeah.
Yeah, so a big storm
Serious,
was coming,
yeah.
right? And I was like, I have to get drunk. And I was like, I am definitely getting drunk. And so I called Dan up. He was in Melbourne. And I was like, we're going to have to go through a storm on the aeroplane.
I'm going to have to get my mum to punch me.
You're not on the plane. Mum's going to have to punch me. And he was like, it's not a big deal. Airplanes fly through a storm all the time. I don't know. He's very good at tough love with me. Like, just don't give it any attention.
Yeah.
And I was like, I will call you when we get to Melbourne. Like that. And he's like, no, you'll just come home because it's not a big deal. You don't need to tell me that you've landed because of course you'll land. And I was like, I'll call you when we're boarding. He's like, no, you definitely don't need to call me when you're boarding because this is a regular flight.
Are you drunk during this conversation
Not
or not?
yet, right? And then I
so
go,
they're tears.
No, they're just tears.
Okay,
Oh, you
sorry.
thought I was... You need to slow it down. Oh, good. And then I was like, I think I'm going to go and get a glass of champagne now. Right? And he goes, no, you need to get a glass of concrete and water because you need to toughen the fuck up.
Wow. Go Dan.
Yeah. And I was like, okay.
Presumably, if you swallow the concrete, though, that'd affect the plane
Probably
stability.
would because they weigh everything.
Yeah.
But then I got on the flight and my mum has her own things for combating, fear of flying. She needs to hold the hand of whoever she's sitting next to.
Oh.
She has asked strangers to
Great.
hold her hand until the seatbelt sign comes off. Right. And so we were like, let's hold each other's hands. Right. And so we went off and it was bumpy. Like it was pretty bumpy. And we were holding each other's hands like so tightly, like gripping it for about 10 minutes while the seatbelt sign was on. And then all of a sudden it went off and we just moved our hands slightly and we realized they were both sopping wet.
That'd be awful. I was just imagining next to the seatbelt sign, hand holding sign, requiring people to hold hands, and it gets wetter and wetter.
There's just big droplets of water next to it. So with your fear of flying, Laura, has number of flights affected it at all? So like the sheer volume, if you're doing more and more flights, does that make it any better or not?
I think it's sort of like an actor that they say your last gig's your best gig, or your gig is as bad as your last gig. Is that how they say
Not familiar with that phrase, and nor how it relates to aviation.
And now it's time for Oh Wow of the Week. Oh wow.
Oh, wow.
Oh, wow.
Oh, wow.
A sperm whale's sonar clicks are so loud they can do physical harm to divers.
Oh, wow.
Oh, wow.
Oh wow.
Wow. The other weekend, I went to have dinner with a few friends, and I was driving, and we were going to a bar afterwards. So the dinner finished, and we went out to the car, and one of the friends, James, stayed inside, and I was with my friend Chris. We were walking back to the car, and I unlocked it, and I jumped in the driver's seat. Chris made a very strange decision. He jumped in the back seat. So I'll set this up to you again. Front seat, empty. Chris jumps in the back. Now, I think back to when I was a child. I reckon every single drive that I used to have with my sister, we would, before we even got started, it would be tears fighting for that front seat. Whereas Chris, he's an only child.
But did he... Was your other friend coming to join you?
Yeah, he was. But
Yeah, so he knew I'm going to
just being-
save the seat for him.
He's just being a gentleman.
Yeah.
Yeah, so this is what it comes down to. He was being a gentleman, but what he was thinking was, oh, James has longer legs than I do. I'll take the back seat. There is no way that I would ever give anyone the front seat. The front seat is the power
Really?
seat in the car.
So many people I know are always like to me, oh, Josh, you can sit in the front. You're really tall. And which is weird because I actually don't need the extra length. I squash up really well. Like I really liked a back seat sitting there on planes as well. The chair back towards me so I can like put my knees up on it. I love that.
Yeah, I can picture you because you, Josh, you compact and you fold. You're like human origami.
It's great.
You fold up. Your knees are often in close proximity to your face.
Yeah, it's very
like-
comfortable.
Laura looks like a praying mantis at the moment.
My arms are in the position that Josh's legs would normally be.
Yeah, and her antlers are sky high as well.
But sitting in the back seat, do you not feel inferior to those in the front?
No, because I'm not insecure about my life, mate.
Christian,
Good
Thank you
point.
so much.
Christian, I'm very interested to hear, when you got on a school bus, were you cool enough to sit in the back seat or were you right up the front next to the bus driver?
I never succumbed to the pressures of where the cool kids sat. I used to sit where my friends were.
And where were
the
they?
back. Not the back.
Yeah, not the back, presumably.
Well,
So
right up the
you're a
front. We want to
sheep.
see. No. Yeah, I am a bit of a sheep. but yeah, I like being at the front because I like looking out the front window. I like to see where we're going.
But I don't think there's any stigma to do with what seat you're sitting in. If anything,
There's
the back
100%
seat, no.
stigma.
If anything, the back seat's better because you've got less responsibility. In the front seat, you're probably looking after music, you're looking after climate control, you're looking after navigation traditionally.
Conversation.
Yeah, you've got
Yeah,
to drive
and
that.
in the back seat, you can relax. You can go on your phone if you want
Yeah.
to. You can just chime in with little tidbits.
Yeah.
No one is looking at you.
Yeah, but think about the dictatorship of the person in the front seat. They get to control where the seat is. They go backwards and forwards. They get to control the airflow. If they put that front window down in the back seat, you're fucked. You are. That is just like a hurricane.
That's a good point.
What's that weird like noise, that thumping noise that happens when you open just one window? You know how it's like.
Yeah.
I don't understand that.
Yeah, it's the same that we don't understand flying, but we still do it.
And then if it's doing that, right, and you're the driver, you always seem really finicky when you request that one. It happened to me the other day. I was like, can somebody please just change how high they have their windows because it is doing that weird thumping thing, and everyone was like.
Jesus,
okay.
Yeah, you have to be sort of a mediator while you're driving. You have to kind of be the parent to the front and the back seat.
Yeah.
I find now that I've become absolutely rubbish at navigating. Like, I used to know when I started driving, I didn't have my phone always with maps navigation. And I used to be able to go, cool, I'm going here. I'll follow this road. And I'd look at the Melways beforehand and work out my route. I'm useless at that now.
So when people like you lose that ability, I lose faith in humanity. I'm like, that is such an important area of the brain that's currently not being used by people, and it's so sad to hear that.
Well, I think it's not so much losing it, it's that I want the traffic updates. Like, that's a big part of it.
Yeah.
I want to know what the traffic's doing so I can divert around it.
I will look for traffic updates, but then I let my mind and my natural sense of direction guide me after that.
Yeah, wow.
Natural sense of direction.
So you're at one with the car.
I have an incredible sense of direction. I don't boast about myself that much, but you take me somewhere, I can always find my way. I'm like a homing pigeon. I can get anywhere just on my senses.
How'd you go getting here?
I
Google
used
Maps.
Google Maps. But I've never been here before.
Yeah.
But I won't use Google Maps going home.
Great. I'm imagining...
Wow, that's amazing.
Really?
And what do you like in new cities when you go to a new city in the world? Do you pop up? I'll never forget, I went to Edinburgh 10 years ago. I was with a friend. We took the train, got up to street level. He knew exactly where to go there without even looking at a map. It was unbelievable.
Yeah, when we were in Vietnam together, Dion, you were rubbish at that.
Yeah, I
was. I'd have a map and go, cool, we're here and we need to go here.
Yeah.
Let's turn left here and face this direction.
Yeah, my spatial awareness is really, really bad.
I think with those tourist towns, though, those big tourist destinations, I think they often they all have the major things. They all usually have a body of water. They've got a railway station.
true.
They've got a big church. They've got all the major
I've never
things.
thought of that.
Exactly, and what you're saying, you take for granted because Dion would never think, I'll orientate myself by the big body of water, by the train station. Where am I relative to these things?
I love this. I love that I potentially have just learnt how to navigate any city in the world from our guest on today.
Now we just need to enter you into the amazing race.
And only go to cities that has one body of water, one church, one post office.
Wait a minute. What do you mean there are two bodies of water here?
We cannot go anywhere that has a lake and a river, such as Melbourne. Can I just ask also, when you're talking about front and back seat dynamics, right?
Sure.
So
Thanks for getting back onto that, by the way.
this is a pertinent question, right? Because I don't know the answer to it. Say there's 3 of you in the car, right? 2 people in the front, 1 person in the back. The first person that gets dropped off back to their house happens to be the person that's been sitting in the front. What should happen to the person in the back? Because then you have a chauffeur-driver situation.
100% you go to the front. You got to get out of the car, straight to the front.
Even if the drive is less than 5 minutes.
100%. Because it's rude to sit at the back.
No.
Yes.
I love watching Josh then because Josh is on board with Christian at the start and then you could tell he was sort of veering a little bit.
No.
So you reckon if it's a 2-minute extra drive, you get in the get out and get in the front seat?
It's a timing thing. So as soon as you pull up for the first person, you just both get out of the car at the same time. You don't stop and wait and the first person goes down. You go, oh, gee, should I move to the front? Yeah, maybe I will. Just the time spent of the first person getting out, you get out as well, move to the front.
But what if it's literally like a 2-minute drive?
Still move.
Yep.
Why?
No.
Because the car is stopping anyway and there's time for someone to get out of the car so you're not wasting any time.
Doesn't answer my question. What's the purpose?
To feel at one with the driver
That's
and
right.
be courteous to sit up the front with them.
Yes, you're not. That person is giving you a lift. They're not your chauffeur. It's not a taxi. You know what? Do you guys sit in the back at taxis when you get in them?
I do because
Disgusting.
I'm a woman. Because I'm a woman.
Disgusting. You're a woman. It's disgusting.
I don't because I'm a man.
Here's an option,
Go.
right? If it's less than 5 minutes drive,
Yep.
the person stays in the back, but you make a witty gag to each other to acknowledge
About
the
it.
situation.
Yep.
Okay, I will compromise slightly with you, Laura. Someone gets out of the car, out of the front seat. You're in the back seat. It's a less than 5 minute drive. You better make sure you're driving that conversation.
Yes, the responsibility
Oh,
goes
yeah.
to the person in the back 100%.
Onus entirely shifts for you for everything.
I'd hate to think if Christian was driving that conversation. What was in the last patch? Do you like barbecues?
How do you barbecue?
How do you barbecue?
Yeah, well, come on. Don't put me on the spot.
I don't understand what's your huge issue with your Dion Moore of why would you bother?
Yes.
Why? It's very easy to do it though because you're an equal with the person driving.
No point. No
Josh,
point. Not
Josh,
with the energy.
Look at who you're talking to. Effort versus making someone feel comfortable.
But also, can I say, this is coming from the man that doesn't use bowls so that he cannot have the washing up. I thought you would be the one that wants to
More
minimize
economical
any
about it.
energy loss.
So true. That's such a
You
good
don't
point.
want to wash a bowl, but you will get out of a car and go and sit in another
Yeah,
seat.
look, if the bowl
you
was-
are contradicting yourself.
The bowl was another human being who had
Yes.
feelings.
But that's why you make the witty gag. You acknowledge the feelings.
There's no time lost though. That's my thing. It's like if someone's getting out, you're getting out at the same time, and then you get to give a nice little hug to the person who's leaving.
Hug.
You've never given me a hug
You
when I've
don't
left.
hug.
Wow, I'm going. You don't hug. Okay, maybe I don't hug a lot, but okay,
You
it's
just
an option.
crimp yourself up like an accordion.
Josh, I really want to back you up, but I'm terrified at the moment.
Laura, as our first guest, we asked you if you could bring in something from your life of significance, and you've chosen something you're clutching in your hot little hands.
My sweaty hands.
What have you got there?
I have my teenage scrapbook.
Oh, wow.
I think it's just me trying to share a little piece of my life with me as 16-year-old Laura.
Little time capsule.
So here we've got our front page here. I'll just describe it. We can always take some photos.
Yeah,
You're welcome to
yeah,
put it
that's
on
a
your
great idea.
socials. So the front page I've titled Laura's Memories. And it's a picture of me with Porky Pig at Movie World.
Classic memory. Up
Classic
there.
memories, of course. I've also glued in all of my Met cards and movie tickets.
Great.
Great.
I've got heaps of them. I've got a page dedicated to the first season of Big Brother.
Oh my God.
I've got
Sarah,
all the
is that Sarah Marie?
Sarah Marie. I've got a picture of Sarah Marie, and in sparkly pen I've written "I heart Sarah Marie" on her
But
forehead.
why did you heart Sarah Marie?
Because she was the best. She spoke her mind. She was genuine.
She did the bum dance.
I'd love
She
it.
did the bum dance.
I'd love it if you just regressed to this person as the pages turned. And
Well,
you
this
just
is the
slowly.
you call your podcast "Welcome to Patchwork." This is the tapestry of my life.
Wow.
I'm sharing it.
Hello and welcome to Scrapbook.
But I did want to highlight one thing that I found that I thought would be interesting to talk about that we can take a picture of. It's a cutout picture of Orlando Bloom, I think circa Lord of the Rings.
Yep.
And I have cut out a picture of my face, and then I've put red texture around both of our faces in the shape of a love heart.
And it's not like what you do these days of like maybe trying to make it look like, oh, we're standing in the photo together. It's literally Laura's disembodied head floating next to Orlando Bloom.
There's not even an accurate size comparison.
I know,
Your
I
head
know.
is
But also, you're looking
much smaller.
You look incredibly bored in the photo
I look
as well.
incredibly bored, slightly pissed off as
Yeah.
well. Anyway, I thought it would be interesting to discuss teenage crushes because I'd love to hear a male
Well, 'cause
perspective.
I think with women, it's more like pretty boys and that kind of, like I was thinking, I recently, because I moved rooms in my house, and I actually found, I don't know if I've kept them, but I found all the old FHM and Ralph magazines.
You kept them?
Yeah, and it was really funny to look through them. It was like 2001, sexiest woman alive, and all this kind of stuff. And I realized, I think for like teenage boys, the sort of crush side of it, there's actresses and stuff, but I think it's very much a sexual thing. Whereas I think women with like heartthrob guys, it's a kind of different vibe to it.
Is that true? It's kind of like a dream, a potential lifestyle.
It is. It's more about the idea of the person rather than their actual looks. But I think that's how women work in the real life as well. Like if somebody does any form of domestic chore, I am in. But if
Really?
yeah, I'm like bins out, done.
You should watch Christian.
But top off, I do not care.
Dan, look out. Watch how Christian cleans a kitchen.
Yeah.
It is one of the sexiest things I've ever
Bit
seen.
of sweat on your brow.
Yeah, I really get in there.
It's
Yummy.
not that. He just knows his way around the kitchen so well. And the way he grabs a tea towel and sort of but I don't even know what you do. Buff sort of bits up with the.
My favorite thing to do is to get slightly frustrated before I start.
Yeah,
because I build myself
you
into
get a
this
bit
kind
flappy.
of yeah.
You get
I
flappy.
build myself into this kind of rage internally, so that as I'm cleaning, I relieve that rage.
So what people don't realize though is he often does this at Dion's house.
Yeah.
Completely
Do you
unasked.
clean Dion's house?
and
It's filthy.
It's so good. It's so good when it happens because suddenly I'll just see Christian appear in the kitchen towards the end of the night. He starts, I don't know what he does,
but what
like
you're missing-
scuffing and buffing. And
But exactly what Christian was saying is there these moments leading up to it where you see Christian being like, and me and Dion look at each other being like, it's happening.
Yeah.
It's
And-
happening.
and then-
You're someone's mum.
And then Josh sort of tries to talk and try and divert Christian's attention with conversation. And I usually signal to Josh and go, no, he's cleaning. Just let him do his thing.
Last time I was in Dion's kitchen, there was like a half a tomato just
No.
smushed into the bench.
Kind of say I live with two people. Like it's not like I live on my own and there are
That's
mushrooms
not-
smushed.
Just because you didn't put the tomato there doesn't mean that you
Thank
shouldn't
you
clean
so
it up.
much. Thank you. And that is the principle that governs, because no one admits who did it. Therefore, they'll all look at each other and go, who's going to clean this up?
That is no kind of government because if you just think it's not my tomato, someone else
Yeah,
will do
it's
it.
true.
That's when a tomato sits
you're right.
on a bench for weeks on
I
end.
should take ownership.
I'm
you're right.
Doctors Without Borders. I'm just coming in there.
You are Doctors Without
Yeah.
Borders.
Christian sans frontières.
Josh, did you have a particular crush when you were growing up?
Well, I remember there was a girl, like, not so much a celebrity crush, but my grade 6, and in very, very heavily inverted commas, girlfriend, where the peak of our relationship was at the muck-up day of grade 6, where I
Had a
smushed...
muck-up day in grade
In
6.
grade
Oh, like,
six?
well, you ran down to the park on the last day and just everyone ran amok and had stuff.
Mucked up
And-
the trees.
Yeah, it was great. But yeah, the peak of our relationship was me...
Did you have a primary school schoolies? Grade 6 schoolies.
What would that consist of? Just sneaking heaps of sugar into the school? I can't think of anything else.
We went to Chadstone to the movies for
you
a
went
week.
to Chadstone and you had heaps of popcorn. And you got a sore stomach.
I was on the toilet all morning.
And there was some toolies who were like 15. So I had my grade 6 girlfriend where nothing had ever happened between us at all, and all that happened, the peak of it was me smushing some shaving cream into her face. That was me showing affection, I guess.
At least there wasn't a tomato, I guess.
And then I think I had a letter from her, and it was like, and I think because I still keep all that kind of stuff in a drawer somewhere.
I love
and
how
she'd
that's
sprayed-
a throwaway thing that Josh said. I still keep all that stuff from 20 years
great.
ago. All my
Oh, so-
crushes.
Sorry, look at the woman with her bloody scrapbook who's coming here. Have you got me for keeping a love
Sorry,
letter?
that's for comedic value. Yours is for your
I'm using it as comedic value right now if you let me talk about the perfume. It was sprayed with perfume, still smells to this day.
Really?
Yeah.
Do you find that smell still an erotic smell, Josh?
As a grade 6 was not erotic at all.
No,
mate.
but is it something that you're attracted to? You
it's
smell that-
evocative.
It's evocative,
Yeah,
not
yeah,
erotic.
yeah.
Okay, right. I'm glad to
it
clear
brings
that
up
up.
memories. It's a very clear memory of that time and that young lady.
Erocative.
Evocative. I like that word.
My first kiss was incredibly teethy. And I thought, and like it was happening, I was like, really? Is this all there is to it? It was just all teeth. It was
I
awful.
think teenage kisses might be quite teethy in general.
Really?
No one's good at kissing yet.
I can't
at that
imagine
age.
going into somebody with all teeth first.
Laura, did you practice kissing?
On an orange.
On an orange.
Really?
Or
Yeah.
sometimes on the shower window.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, me too. Yeah. 100%, but I didn't do it on an orange. I did it on a mango because there were because I'm not
Talk about me like I'm crazy for doing it on an orange.
Did you-
Like,
Well,
on a
yeah, that
mango.
is crazy. There's
It's
a lot
just-
of citric
But your
acid.
one is more exotic and harder to
That's
get
right.
in season.
At least
Why
I-
would you waste it
Okay.
on kissing? You would eat it.
Christian's love life was in seasons.
No, but at least
Mango season.
He used to go to Queensland to practice.
but at least you can get turned on by a mango.
Really, really good. You know what's really, really good? Really, really good. You know what's really, really good?
Do you know what's really good? When you find something at an opportunity shop, which is exactly what you're looking for, well below recommended retail price.
Really good. Really good.
Really good.
You know what's really good? When you think your watch is broken, but then you go to the local mall to get the battery changed and it works again. It wasn't broken at all. The battery was just flat.
Really
good.
Really good. Really good.
You know what's really good? Using your mouth to clean a piece of cutlery.
Ah, really,
Really
good.
good. Really good. Really good. Do you know what's really good? A bank error in your favour. Really good. Really good.
You know what's really good? When you find the correct size Allen key.
Ah, really good.
Really good. Really good.
You know what's really good? When your workplace implements such a high standard of OH&S that you leave work every day feeling safe and your loved ones can rest easy that you're coming home in one piece tonight.
that's really good.
It's
Really good.
Really good.
You know what's really good? Buying a pair of shoes and not having to completely rethread the laces.
Ah, really good.
Really good. Really good. Do you know what's really good? When an email contains hyperlinks instead of copy-pasted URLs.
Ah, really good. Really good.
Thank you for listening to Welcome to Patchwork this week. Laura, it's been a pleasure having you on.
Thank you, boys.
And you have a comedy festival show on.
Yes. Well, I'm not doing a solo stand-up show as often a lot of stand-up comics do. I will be doing a group show. Geraldine Hickey, she's a comedian about town. We'll be doing a late-night show at the Victoria Hotel called It's My Show on Friday and Saturday nights at 11 o'clock.
Awesome. Well, we'll be along to that. And Josh, you also have a comedy festival show called Game Boys. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
So doing comedy festival again with my brother in the comedy duo called Game Boys. And our show this year is called The Wide World of Esports. We're opening on April 9 and we'll be at Trades Hall.
I think it would be a good idea as well, Josh, to organise a patchwork night. So whoever does listen to this podcast, if there's any of you, let us know on the Facebook page when you'd like to go to Josh's show. Dion and I will make sure that we're there as well, and we'll interact with you.
Have a night out.
And buy you a beer.
Don't promise that.
So feel free to hit us up on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Josh, what did you sew into your patch this week?
My patch this week was Laura, who's drunk, practicing kissing on an aeroplane window. And Christian, what patch did you sew this week?
Josh, my patch for this week is me on a flight to Hobart, noticing a squashed tomato on my tray table and using Laura's sweaty hand to clean it up. Laura, what did you sew into your patch this week?
Well, it would seem that we're all on the same flight this week because I've sewn into my patch Christian making out with a mango on a plane that's doomed, killing all 350 souls on board. And Dion, what did you sew in your patch this week?
So this week I sewed me holding Laura's sweaty hand throughout the duration of this recording. Thank you for listening to Welcome to Patchwork. I've been Dion.
I've been Josh.
And I've been Christian.
And I've been Laura.
Goodbye.
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 Ta. You know what's really good?
Is it even your turn?
It's not even your turn. It's Dion.